Statistics and probability. Number 3, Kate conducts a survey at her middle school to determine the student's favorite sport. Which sampling method would best produce a representative sample of the population? So we're looking for something that is unbiased. Remember, unbiased means fair. Okay, so A, Kate serves the football team. Well, looking for favorite sport here. Well, the football team's all going to pick football, so this would be bias. Just the 7th grade students, well, middle school here, so this will also be bias. Surveys every 4th student entering the school. That could be one. Or Kate surveys every 8th student from a roster of the choir members. Or choir members, even though it has every 8th right here, this choir will make it biased because they might claim that choir is a sport. So this one is the only one that is unbiased. So C is your answer. Number 8, a company manufactures cell phones. In August, a random sample of 125 cell phones were inspected, and 3 phones were found to be defective. The company manufactured 8,000 cell phones in August. Based on the results from the sample, about how many, so that's our key word here that we need to make a proportion, cell phones are expected to be defective. So we know that the sample, 3 out of the 125 were defective, equals X out of the 8,000. So to remember to do a proportion, we need to cross multiply. 125 times X gives me 125X. 3 times 8,000 gives me 24,000. Then divide by 125 on each side. X equals 192. So it's expected that 192 phones will be defective out of the 8,000 manufactured in August. Number 14. Jamie rolls a number cube and spins a color spinner. The spinner is divided into 3 equal sections. The tree diagram shows all the possible outcomes that occur. So we have all the number on the number cube, 1 through 6, and then the 3 color spinners sections would be red, blue, and green. So all of them is 1, red, blue, and green, 2, red, blue, and green, etc. So I'm looking at the answers choices while I'm on this slide. So A says the probability of rolling a 5 in red is 1/9. Okay, so I'm looking here, 5 in red. Well, I know I have 18 outcomes, okay? Because you can do 6 times 3 gives me 18. So I know I have 18 outcomes. 5 in red is only 1. So A would not be your answer. B has 3 in blue. Well, same thing here. We have 1 number and 1 color in the spinner. That's going to be 1/18, not 1/6. So B's not yet. C has 2 or 3 in green. So looking at 2 has a green, 3 has a green. So here, let's do green to help me here. So those are 2 out of the 18, which simplifies to 1/9, and it says it's 1/18, so C will not be it. D says an even number, which is 2, 4, and 6, and landing on blue is 1/6. So let's look here. Let's highlight the evens. 2 in blue, 4 in blue, and 6 in blue. So 1, 2, 3 out of the 18. So that 3 goes into 3 one time. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So yes, D is your answer because it'd be 1/6. And then E says 1 or blue or green. So looking at 1, blue, green. So 2 out of the 18, which simplifies to 1/9. So E will be your answer. So D and E are your answers. Number 16, the dot plot shows students' math test scores from the 6th and 7th grade. Select the word that correctly completes the sentence. The range of the test scores in 6th grade is less than, greater than, or equal to the range of the test scores in 7th grade. So remember, range equals max minus min. Okay, so for 6th grade, the max number is 90. My minimum is 30. So that gives me a range of 60. So 7th grade, my max is 95. My minimum is 50. So my range is 45 here. Okay, so 60 is greater than 45. Okay, then it says the mean test scores in 6th grade is less than, greater than, or equal to the mean test scores in 7th grade. So remember, to find the mean, you have to add all the numbers together, then divide. So in 6th grade, so when I added all the numbers, remember each dot represents a number. In 6th grade, I got 595. There are 9 numbers, which gives me 66.1 repeating. The mean test score in 7th grade will be, the average is 705. Divide that by 9, and it equals 78.3 repeating. So 6th grade is less than the mean test scores in 7th grade. So when I got what I did to add these up is I took all the numbers. So we have 30 plus 40 plus 60 plus 65 plus 65 plus 75 plus 80 plus 80, and then plus 90, which gave me that 595. And down here, I added 50 plus 70 plus 70 plus 80 3 times, plus 85 plus 95 twice. That's how I got the totals. Number 23. A random sample of 10 fish from 2 ponds were completed. The results are shown. So before I printed off this packet, I forgot to put the answer choices on here. So the answer choices are not on your packet, but you still need to put the answer on here. It says, based on the sample, which statement compares the length of fish in each pond? Okay. So A says, so it's looking for variability. Okay. So variability, we can use the ranges to help us with variability. So the ranges in pond A, my maximum number is 20 and my minimum number is 5. So 20 minus 5 gives me 15. My maximum number on pond B is 22 and my minimum number is 10. So 22 minus 10 gives me 12. So pond A is generally have less variability. So remember, the greater the range, the more variability you have. So this should be more to make this true. Okay, pond A and have a greater variability. The fish in pond A are longer and have a greater variability than the fish in pond B. C says the fish in pond A are generally shorter and have a less variability in length from the fish in pond A. Go back to pond B right quick. Are generally longer. Well, I'm looking at the numbers here, 5, 9, 5, 6. There's nothing that's in the ones in Pond B, so that would mark that one out, okay? So they are generally shorter, but they have more variability. So C would not be great. And so D, they are generally shorter and have a greater variability than the length of the fish in Pond B. So D is your answer. Number 26, Miss Evan allows her students of the week to spin a reward wheel. The reward wheel is shown. Select the words that correctly completes the sentence. The chance of earning a 5-point bonus on the text is likely, certain, unlikely, and possible. Okay, so 5-point bonus is the polka dot. There are 12 sections on the wheel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Nope, there's 16 instead of 12. Miscounted. Okay, and out of those, 2 of them contain polka dots. Okay, which goes to 1/8. So it is unlikely of earning a 5-point bonus on your test, because the probability of the event is closer to 1. Because when I divide it, it's 0.1 repeating, which would be closer to 1, then closer to 0, and then closer to 1. So closer to 1, it would need to be likely or greater than 50%. Less than 50% would be closer to 0. Number 29. The following question has 2 parts. First, answer part A, and then answer part B. A number cube that has sides number 1 through 6 is rolled 180 times. How many times would you expect, that's my keyword, to be an even number greater than 2? Okay, so I'm going to write my numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even and greater than 2 be 4 and 6. Okay, so 2 out of the 6 times would we expect to get an even number that is greater than 2 equals, we know we're going to make a proportion here, over 180, x over 180. So we're going to cross multiply. 6 times x gives me 6x. 2 times 180 gives me 360. Divide both sides by 6. X equals 60. So it'd be 60 times where we expect to get an even number greater than 2 if we rolled the number cube 180 times. How many times would you expect the result to be a number less than 6? Well, 5 out of the numbers on the number cube are less than 6, equals x over 180. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to cross multiply. 6 times x gives me 6x. 5 times 180 gives me 900. Divide that by 6. X equals 150. $34. The box plot compares the gross earnings in millions of dollars of movies during the months of August and November. Which statement correctly compares the 2 data set? Okay, A says the median in August, which is around let's just say it's around 700, is about half the median in November. So right here, let's just say it's around 1,150. No, 700 is not about half of that. So A would not be it. The median number is about 400 times more than the median in August. So yeah, so 700 plus 400 gives you closer to that 1,150. So B is your answer. This says the difference in the median is about half of the range in November. That's not going to be it, and neither is D. Okay, number 37. Which event is most likely to occur? So it has to be greater than 50%, but less than 100%. Tossing a fair coin and landing on heads. So, well, that's 50%, which is equal. Spinning a 3 on a spinner divider. A spinner divided into 4 equal sections, number 1 through 4. Well, 3's only there one time, so that's 25%, which is going to be unlikely. Picking a red marble from a bag that contains 3 blue, 4 red, and 2 marble, or 2 green. So we have 9 out of there. 3 and 4 of them are red. That gives us a 44% chance, which is also unlikely. Rolling a number cube that has sides number 1 through 6 and landing on a number less than 5. Well, 4 of the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 of them out of the 6 are less than 5. That gives us a 67% chance that that one is most likely to occur. So D is your answer. Number 40. James spun a color spinner 20 times. The results of her spins are shown in the frequency table. Based on the data in the table, how many times would you expect the spinner to land on green if Jamie spun the spinner 400 times? Okay, so about how many times? So we got to set up a proportion. So she spun the spinner 20 times, so that's going to be my denominator here. And I'm looking at green. She's landed on green 4 times, so it'll be 4 out of 20 equals x over 400. I'm going to cross multiply. 20 times x gives me 20x. 4 times 400 gives me 1600. Divided by 20. X equals 80 times. Number 42. A random sample of the girls' heights at a basketball camp are shown. Based on the data, select the box to indicate whether each statement is true or false. The mean height of the 7th grade girls is greater than the mean height of the 8th grade girls. So when I add all of these numbers up, for 7th grade, I get 263. When I divide that by 4, that gives me 65.75. When I add 8th grade up, I get 262. When I divide that by 4, I get 65.5. So the mean for 7th grade is greater than the mean for 8th grade. The girls in both grades have the same median height. Okay? Well, this one here is in order, so that's going to be 67 because I'll add those together and divide by 2. Here, I need to rewrite these to make them in order. So 67, 65, 63. When I add those two together, I get 66. So they're not the same because 66 and 67 are not the same. The heights of the 8th grade girls varies more than the heights of the 7th grade girls. So we need to look at the range. So for 8th grade, the max is 67. The minimum is 63, so that gives me 4. 7th grade, my max is 69. My minimum is 61, so that gives me a range of 8. So 8 is greater than 4, so 7th grade varies more than 8th grade, so this will be false. The girls in 7th grade tend to be taller than the girls in 8th grade. Yeah. So that one's true. 44. The table shows the results of a student spinning a color spinner 20 times. Select the words that correctly completes the sentences. Based on the data, the student is more likely, less likely, equally likely to land on a blue section rather than a green section. Okay, so they spun it 20 times. So for blue, they spun it 20 times. And they landed on it twice. Okay, that gives me a 10% chance. And then green, they landed on it 4 times out of the 20, which gives me a 20% chance. So this one will be less likely to land on a red section than a blue section. So I already know what the blue one is. So looking at the red is 2 out of 20. which gives me 10%. So they are equally likely. Ryu has a fair coin and spinner divided into 4 congruent sections labeled A, B, C, and D. Ryu will toss the coins once and then spin the spinner. What is the tree diagram showing all the possible outcome? So we know a fair coin would be heads and tails, okay? So looking at A, it just has heads with A, B, C, and D. There's no tails. B, I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but it has heads A, B, tails C, D, which is not right. C has the heads and tails, but looking at the other one, the spinner, it has A, B, C, D, C, D, which is not right. D has the heads and the tails, and then each heads and tails has A, B, C, D. So D is your correct answer. A stack of cards is numbered 1 through 50. If the student selects a card, what is the probability that a student will select a card that has both the same number in the ones place and in the tens place? Write the answer as a decimal. So from the numbers 1 through 50, the only numbers that have the ones, same number in the ones and 10 place is 11, 22, 33, and 44. So 4 out of the 50 have the same number in the ones and the tens place, which that gives me a decimal 0.08. Number 51, a fair number cube with numbers 1 through 6 was rolled 200 times. The number 5 was rolled 34 times. If the number cube was rolled 300 times, approximately how many times would the number cube be rolled? So once again, we're going to make a proportion. So 5 was rolled 34 times out of the 200 equals x over 300. We're going to cross multiply. 200 times x gives me 200x equals 34 times 300 gives me 10,200. Divide both sides by 200. X equals 51. The following question has 2 parts. First, answer part A, then answer part B. Middle school is having a raffle for a laptop. The school will draw the winning ticket once all 450 tickets have been sold. Mark bought 5 tickets. What is the probability of winning the laptop if 1 ticket is purchased? Express the answer as a decimal rounded to the nearest thousandths. Okay, so this is going to be 3 places. So 1 ticket out of the 450 will give you 0.002. Very low chance of winning if you only pick 1 ticket, if you only bought 1 ticket. Part B says, what is the probability that Mark will win the laptop? Okay, so Mark bought 5 tickets, so 5 out of the 450 is his chances. When I divide that, I get 0.011. So he also has a very low chance of getting it.